Good afternoon. My name is Betha Dlamini. I am the founding president of African Women in Energy and Power. I'll be facilitating the program today. Honorable Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, Minister Gwede Mantashe. Honorable Deputy Minister, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. Esteemed officials of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. Esteemed members of the Gender Ministerial Advisory Council for the energy sector, esteemed delegates that have made time to join us today, good afternoon. And anyone that could have joined from any other part of the world, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, you are welcome. Today, the department is going to launch the following: the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy, its supporting implementation plans, and the Gender Ministerial Council for the energy sector. We are going to endeavor to stick to time allocations to ensure that all speakers are able to use their time allocation. Accordingly, we shall not have a live question and answer session. There is a dedicated team that will be answering your questions on the chat session. So go ahead and place your questions there. We also ask you to remain on mute so that we do not have any disturbances during the progress of the program through audio interferences. The energy sector, Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy was developed to provide strategic guidelines in the delivery of social and economic services that are compliant to the Constitution and other relevant legislations in the country. It comes at a time when the sector is experiencing rapid structural changes with the expansion of the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program, which gives effect to the country's electricity infrastructure plan, the Integrated Resource Plan of 2019, which has set the foundation for the diversification of energy generation technologies in the country in order to secure the required supply of energy. It comes at a time when the country is preparing and executing tactical programs to transition justly to the green economy across all various productive value chains. Alongside this flow of changes, the entire energy ecosystem of stakeholders are compelled to examine their deliberate and effective inclusion of women, youth, and people living with disabilities across existing and emerging value chains in the energy sector. Please welcome Advocate Thabo Mokoena, who has been serving as Director General of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy since 2017 to deliver the welcome address. Advocate Mokoena, over to you.
Program Director, Ms. Betha Dlamini, the President and Founder of African Women in Energy and Power, the Honorable Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, His Excellency, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, the Deputy Minister of the Department, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, distinguished guests from the Women in Energy and Mining Associations, distinguished delegates and esteemed guests, and also members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by thanking the organizers for the invitation to be part of such an important event. We are pleased that you have decided to take part in the launch of the Energy Sector Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy and Ministerial Advisory Council. I hope that this event would live up to the expectations of a dynamic gathering that demonstrates our departments and also institutionalization of gender-based budgeting to ensure that the development of women in the energy sector of South Africa is achieved. I believe today's undertaking will go a long way towards integrating women empowerment and gender equality in all sector plans and actions to achieve commitments made at both international and also country level. Our commitment is further inspired by Charlotte Maxeke, her generation, and all women, great and small, who contributed to our freedom and democracy. As we come to the end of Women's Month, let us remember to honor and remember women from all generations who have been part of our struggle and made significant contributions for our nation's freedom and development. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I would like to extend our warm welcome and appreciation to delegates, supporters, and partners in ensuring the success of the launch of the Energy Sector Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy and Ministerial Advisory Council. Transforming gender empowerment and relations require a complete paradigm shift from what we are used to in our work as government, business, and civil society, and trust that we will all seize the opportunity to deliver the real change. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Our next speaker is Ms. Elizabeth Marabwa, who is the Chief Director, Program and Project Management Office at the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. For the last 15 years, she has been involved in energy from a regulatory and policy point of view. She has experience in liquid fuels, gas, and electricity. Ms. Marabwa has significant exposure to the international energy arena and has worked with multiple international organizations, including different government departments in Africa. Today, she will give a presentation on the following: the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy, its implementation plans, and the appointed Gender Ministerial Advisory Council for the energy sector. Ms. Marabwa.
Honorable Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Honorable Deputy Minister Dr. Kabani, our DG Advocate Mukwena, fellow panelists, it is a pleasure for me to be presenting the Women in Energy strategy that has been developed by the department. I will quickly go through the strategy and ensure that we move the slides and ensure that I cover the legislative framework, the department's mandate, the legislation that covers the department, the sector, the wage strategy provisions, its strategic objectives, and slightly report on the implementation plan and the functions of the Gender Ministerial Advisory Council. Next. In terms of the legislative framework, the South African government has within its constitution the empowerment of women, that the constitution actually enshrined within it the gender equality and gender empowerment, and ensures the transformation and redress of past imbalances. So we are one of the few countries in the world that have actually successfully enshrined gender equality in the constitution. The constitution is also aligned to international norms and standards as outlined in the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which also promotes a gender equality. And then secondly, aligned to the constitution is the framework, the National Development Program, which has also enshrined gender equality as a critical and important strategic element in the country. The national framework ensures that each and every sector has to be transformed to allow for gender equality. And in that perspective, the department, the energy sector is being transformed to ensure that we aligned with the national framework. We also have in South Africa the Department of Women, which is mandated to ensure that as a department, it promotes and ensures that each and every department and sector is also enforcing gender transformation. It is a framework And through that framework, the department has developed a gender equity and empowerment strategy. The strategy was then shared with our constituency women, and from there we then developed a women in energy gender strategy. It was also considered that developing a policy without an implementation strategy is not effective, and to do that, the department formulated the strategy with an implementation plan. The implementation plan is divided into two. It focuses on the implementation within the department and the workplace, and also it includes both the public and private sector companies. We are looking at how transformation can take place at the workplace. Then we also have this second implementation, which looks at how to incorporate women in the energy value chain as business owners, as investors, as researchers, as service providers to the sector. So we are now, the minister will be launching both the strategy and the implementation plan. Within the implementation plan, it will then have the gender advisory council that will assist the minister in implementing the strategy. The department's mandate in general is to ensure that we regulate, transform, and promote the minerals and energy sector to provide sustainable and affordable energy for growth and development, and ensuring that all South Africans derive sustainable benefits from the country's mineral resources. The Programs and Project Management Office is tasked to ensure that as we regulate both the minerals and energy sectors, we ensure that we mainstream gender, we ensure that we advance gender equality, and we ensure that women are empowered. In addition to that responsibility of promoting women, we also promote youth and people with disabilities so that they participate in both the energy and mining sector across the value chain as employees and as investors and as participants in the sector. We can move. Then in terms of the development of the gender strategy, the department started off by making sure that we consulted at a national level to understand what were the challenges for women to participate in the energy sector, whether they had enough information to be able to participate. So we had opportunities in the energy sectors that were held in all the provinces in the country from 2014 to 2016. When we consulted with the women, it was found out that information is one of the challenges. Access to funding is another important challenge. Access to technology and access to opportunities themselves and the energy market was a very serious challenge. It then culminated in a conference and a big summit, which was participated by about 1,000 women. At the end of the summit, women then requested and developed a declaration and requested that the minister should ensure that we develop a strategy with an implementation plan where the department will be accountable and the industry stakeholders will also be accountable to ensure that we transform the energy sector. At the same time, most companies were complaining that in the energy sector, there are no women-owned companies. So at the same summit, the department then launched an electronic directory for women in energy. And that directory is now active. And if there are any participants who are not on the directory, you are recommended to join. And this directory is a clear indication that we have women willing to participate in the sector, and it's important that they actually are included and taken seriously, and there should be no excuses from industry about where women are located in South Africa. Then from the summit, we then developed a draft strategy, which we then consulted with different associations for women. And in 2017, a Women in Energy dialogue was held. And on the dialogue, please move the slide, on the dialogue, we then presented the draft strategy, and that draft strategy was consulted by women, and they gave us inputs on the areas they felt they were not strong. They then also recommended that we should have an implementation plan with deliverables to ensure that we are measured and we account, and each participant from both the public and private sector companies, then they will give information on the changes that they are implementing, and we will be getting reports from on an annual basis, but you have an audit of the transformation process every 5 years. So the department then looked at the inputs from the dialogue. We consolidated them, reviewed the strategy, and we sent it back again through the different associations, the workshops that we are conducting. And finally, we consolidated the document in 2019. In 2020, it was really important that we have champions that will be leading and are supporting the minister to transform the energy sector, to monitor and ensure that we are actually operating on the ground, and companies, both private and public, engaging in the transformation process. Then it was recommended that we have a gender advisory council. The gender advisory council will then be selected from the different associations of the energy sector, and those gender council members and champions were also supposed to be leaders in the sector, leaders in the association, and then they become the champions that are going to lead transformation and assist and report to the minister on how the sector is changing, and if there are challenges, what are the challenges and how could they be resolved. And the council will then expected to meet the minister once or twice a year to appraise the minister on the progress. If there are any need to change the implementation plan to be more effective, it will be entirely the responsibility of the council to make sure that they advise the minister accordingly. The responsibility of all the other stakeholders is to make sure that we provide information to the council members to ensure that we transform, move. You can move the next slide. What are the strategic pillars of the strategy? The strategic pillars of the strategy is the enabling environment, which the department and the government and the minister is put in place. As the government, I've outlined the legislative framework within which we are operating, which is strong and supportive of gender transformation. We have also now the gender policy in the energy sector. We now have a gender strategy and an implementation plan. So the enabling environment has been set, and the basic issues that are being driven by the legislative environment is to ensure that we have equality of opportunities, equal employment opportunities, equal business opportunities, and that we mainstream the gender sector across the value chain. It's not important to give women opportunities that are of less importance, but that they should be represented across the value chain, from ownership to procurement and to provision of services in the sector. Then another important pillar of the strategy is to make sure that we have a barrier-free workplace. And this should be enabling all the young people, youth, and people with disabilities to be part of the sector, and that all the companies and all the energy companies, including the department, must make sure that we have a barrier-free workplace. Next, please. Then what are the main strategic objectives of the strategy? The number one is to transform and ensure that we have an inclusive energy sector. We need to have a transformed energy sector, which includes participation of women, which also includes participation of young women, which also includes participation of women with disabilities. So we need to make sure that those that are representing the energy companies also is included. We need to make sure that we employ women across the board. Then important also in terms of employment, what we have learned is that if you want to transform anything in the workplace, you need to make sure that the leaders in the workplace, they have a buy-in in what you are trying to achieve. So in order to have gender transformation, we need to make sure that as the department and as the energy sector, we employ senior managers that will drive the transformation initiatives. We employ female CEOs that will also drive the energy sector initiatives and transformation. At board members, we also need to make sure that we have board representation, and these become the champions that will be leading transformation and ensuring that it takes place. And from an employment point of view, the strategy is recommending that all the senior managers ought to be measured in terms of their performance in recruiting and retaining women. And I'm pleased also to indicate that the minister has led in this initiative. The minister has employed senior board members that are chairing boards in the energy sector who are female. We have CEOs in our SOEs who are female. We have senior managers in the department who are also female. So the department and the minister is not recommending things that he is not implementing in his own area of responsibility. So we are encouraging that the strategy encourages that we need to ensure that we retain women in high positions, because once you have them, they will be able to be championed. Then in terms of ownership within the energy sector, we also need to make sure that women have a particular percentage in ownership of businesses in the energy space. And another area of transformation, and which is easily accessible, is the issue of procurement. We need to make sure that women participate in the energy value chain, procurement, and that is provisions of services, of goods and services across the value chain, not to be relegated to being contracted as providers of cleaning services. Then in terms of our financial institutions, studies have demonstrated that when women borrow money, they pay back the money. But when you look at borrowing and access to funding, in most cases, when women go to borrow money, they do not have access to finance, which is contrary to the behavior of women in terms of retaining money. So we have also ensured that the council has a representation from the financial institution, so that when women have to go to look for funding, they have access to funding. Access to markets in both local and international is very strategic. We are leading in the renewable energy sector. The rest of Sub-Saharan Africa is dealing with the renewable energy. We need to make sure that our own independent power producers from South Africa, women-owned, are going to be launching their companies in the region and cooperating with other women, so that we lead in the provision of independent renewable energy power generation in the continent. And enterprise development, we have been working with universities to promote women skills development and enterprise development, and all companies are encouraged to make sure that as women try to enter the sector, they provide the services that are required, and they make sure that they meet especially the regulatory requirement. And this is pertaining particularly to the nuclear sector, which is highly regulated, and for you to participate, you need to be clearly trained and be able to meet the norms and standards of playing in that particular field. Please move the slides. The operational pillars, I have already discussed the issue of governance and institutional development, and we have indicated that it's important for us to ensure that our policies and our programs, basically what we'll be looking at is that the different institutions have their policies and programs enshrined to make sure that when you are procuring or when you are buying services, there is inclusion of women in the actual policies within the companies. Then accountability of gender mainstreaming should be linked, and to make sure that all the managers are responsible for empowerment. Then we also need to ensure that we establish a gender management system, and that the advisory council will be launched by the minister. And then in terms of economic empowerment, it requires a lot of skills development, skills training. All those issues will be ensure that we participate and provide that Next slide, capacity building is another important area that we need to look at. We hope that our own sitters will be assisting us in capacity building. Our universities will come up with, in fact, they have already come up with programs to make sure that women are empowered. We have a lot of women-owned companies that have been developed, and these are assisting in ensuring that women are capacitated. We have our facilitator here, Betha. They give a lot of programs with capacitate women with information. So capacity development, access to information is very critical. And organizational development is also another important area. We need to make sure that there is sufficient budgets in companies to implement these programs. And from our side, we made sure that the CFO is recommended as on the advisory company so that she can mobilize funding to make sure that women are capacitated. While the strategy has been developed, if we don't report on it, and please move the slides, if we don't report on it, and if we are not measured on it, it will not be as effective. So we have also mandated the Secretariat that it will provide a report to the minister on an annual basis on the implementation of the strategy. It will also be able to gather information with the assistance of the council to make sure that each and every energy company is playing in the space. So reporting is quite strategic, and the Ministerial Advisory Council will play a significant role in ensuring that we report effectively. Next slide. In terms of the Advisory Council itself, the minister is the chair of the council. The deputy minister is the vice chair. There is a secretariat, and that the stakeholder representatives, all the members are from the different stakeholders, and they are representative of the sector. The next slide. In terms of the gender council itself, it will act as a, next slide please, it will act as a glue that is going to put everything together and assist the minister in making sure that each sector of the industry plays a significant role in driving a transformation. They need to identify the opportunities in the areas of strengthenings that are required, the mobilization of the resources, the provision of information gap, the provision of how women can access funding, how women can access technology, and the recognition of different stakeholders. All that will be driven mainly by the different stakeholders. That is why most of these stakeholders will be coming from the different constituencies and different energy technologies to make sure that we are adequately represented and that those council members are the drivers of transformation and the champions in the respective areas. In conclusion, last slide, the department has clearly demonstrated that women matter and they constitute the majority in South Africa and that they are important, and the minister has approved the gender strategy, which clearly is aligned to our strategic policies, a constitution, and is in line with the need to transform and make sure that the energy sector includes the majority of the population. The implementation will significantly contribute to the transformation, and the champions will be strategically supporting the minister, and any information on the transformation initiatives is available on the website, the department website, and we encourage more women to ensure that they register. And we strive to, as a secretariat, to ensure that information is accessible, and we will be ensuring that we provide all the support that is required. And with that, we thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your comprehensive presentation. Contained in the strategy are the following strategic pillars which you so ably articulated: creating an enabling policy environment, enforcing relevant policy with the intention to create equal opportunities across public sector energy value chains and private sector energy value chains, mainstreaming gender across policies, programs, projects across the sector, and most importantly, promoting supportive values, attitudes, behaviors, and culture to support a barrier-free workplace and enterprising sector. All this will be made possible through the operational pillars that you listed: capacity development, organizational development, governance and institutional development, economic growth and development within the department itself and across state-owned enterprises and the sector at large, to contribute towards a comprehensive enterprise development culture as a game changer towards accelerated and sustainable economic growth that we believe will lead to alleviation of poverty, new job creation, as well as eradication of gross inequalities in the sector and the country at large. Most importantly, we want to see the strategy contributing towards the creation of Black female industrialists and expanding the effective participation of women-owned and led businesses in the energy sector. Without an active ecosystem of support from multiple stakeholders, it will be impossible to achieve the ambitions of the women empowerment and gender equality strategy. Here to offer her support or message of support is Dr. Hazel Gwede, who is the Deputy Representative of the UN Women South Africa multi-country office. With over 20 years of experience in the United Nations system, she functioned in various roles, such as joint program coordinator and head of the UN Women's Program Office in Guinea-Bissau. She holds a PhD degree with a focus on women entrepreneurs in post-conflict environments. Dr. Gwede, the floor is yours.
I thank you very much, Madam Facilitator, for your kind introduction. Honorable Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Deputy Minister, Director General of the Department and Advocate, distinguished guests, fellow panelists, I wish to observe all established protocols. A very good afternoon to you all. As we are aware, today is the 31st of August, and it signals the official end of Women's Month in South Africa. It also serves as a reminder for us not to ignore the significance of this month moving forward, but to continue championing gender equality, women's rights, and women empowerment throughout the year. South Africa is commemorating this year under the theme, Realizing Women's Rights. I would be remiss not to highlight the current context, the COVID-19 pandemic, which, as we have all experienced, is unprecedented. It has increased the level of economic uncertainty, exacerbated gender inequality, and created what we now refer to as a shadow pandemic of gender-based violence. Recent statistics of the South African context reports that unemployment is the highest among females at 53%, with Black females comprising 41%. The lack of financial and technical support to women-owned enterprises has resulted in them having to close their businesses in many cases. However, although this is deeply concerning, we see it as an opportunity to promote transformative interventions that will ensure the participation of women in the economy and rebuild back better for economic recovery. That being said, Madam Facilitator, the Honorable Minister of the Department of Energy and Mineral Resources has said that I wish at this point to commend her for the important milestone achieved in the finalization of the strategy to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. This is indeed a right step in the right direction. I wish to also congratulate the newly appointed members of the Ministerial Advisory Council as we put together the council. We appreciate our partnership with the department over the years on the gender equality and women's empowerment agenda. I should mention that this comprehensive strategy, as we've heard from a previous speaker, includes detailed actions and timelines to boost women's economic empowerment, leadership, and representation in the energy sector. It also provides clear pointers of collaboration with other partners, including the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities, and the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation with respect to tracking government policy commitments to women. We see the energy sector as an economic transformer. It is cross-cutting in nature, and it has the ability to optimize efficiencies across the economy. The sector is well positioned to drive women's economic transformation. We cannot ignore the future of energy. By the year 2050, the International Renewable Energy Agency projects that there will be around 40 million jobs directly related to renewable energy and energy efficiency worldwide. This is a more than fourfold increase from today. Women comprise roughly half the world's population, as we know, and their full inclusion is vital to ensuring that the new energy economy is based on the largest pool of talent, knowledge, and skills. I recall the statement made by the Honorable Minister in his 2021 budget speech, highlighting our objective is that, and I quote, all mining and energy projects must benefit South Africans across the length and breadth of the country, end of quote. The significant size of the sector budget amounts to a total of 9.2 billion rands in the year 2020 to 2021, of which 81.6% is transferred to other entities, whilst the remaining 1.7 billion remains in the Department for Procurement of Capital Assets. Let us take a moment to consider a scenario where women access and benefit to a minimum of 40% of that total budget. This increased access to cash by women will be a game changer and will indeed be a significant boost to the economy. Advancing the lives of women and girls is not only a moral obligation, it is smart economics. If women participated equally in the labor market, $28 trillion would be added to the global economy. With the overall slow growth of the global economy and sluggish GDP levels, this would be undoubtedly a welcome boost. On the national front, presidential pronouncement to increase procurement spend on women-owned businesses to 40% provides the department with an impetus to drive this agenda and achieve tangible results. We urge the department to come up with the most practical and innovative solutions to increase procurement spend to women. The success of this work will depend on the investment and efforts by the department in implementing the strategy and continuously tracking progress while identifying what is working and what are the lessons and key challenges. Let us put this strategy to work. UN Women commends the high-level leadership provided by the minister to support this process. We are here to provide the technical support and look forward to our continued collaboration with the department and the Advisory Council as we seek to ensure the successful implementation of this strategy. I thank you very much for your kind attention, and to you, Madam Facilitator. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gooding. You say that supporting women and girls' participation in economy is not only a moral obligation, but it's smart economics. And we support that by saying smart accountability is tracking commitment across all government policies as we advance the participation of women across all sectors, across all value chains. To offer her remarks and introduce the Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, welcome Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. Dr. Nkabane comes with extensive experience in public administration and was recently assigned by the President of the Republic of South Africa as Deputy Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, effectively sworn in on the 6th of August, 2021. Dr. Nkabane, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Program Director, Ms. Betha Dlamini, the President of the African Women in Energy and Power, Honorable Gwede Mantashe, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Advocate Thabo Mokoena, the DG of Mineral Resources and Energy, Ms. Anne Gituku Chongwe, the representative of UN Women South Africa's multi-country office, our special guests, Gender Ministerial Advisory Council members, the representatives of different public and private sector institutions, the representative from different women in energy and mining associations, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure for me to address you today on this special occasion as a nation when we are concluding Women's Month celebration. As the nation, we should be mindful of the fact that freedom cannot be achieved unless women have been emancipated from all forms of oppression. I'm sorry about that. Economic emancipation is another milestone which we are striving to achieve as the country. I am pleased to join you this afternoon during the official launch of Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy and the announcement of the Ministerial Advisory Council. This year, we again commemorate Women's Month under difficult circumstances due to COVID-19, a global public health pandemic, which has especially negatively affected women in South Africa and globally. Equally so, our country is facing another pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide, which continues to raise its ugly head in our society. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, reports have shown that all types of violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, have intensified. The UN Women call gender-based violence a shadow pandemic as it is growing amidst the COVID-19 crisis, and we need a global collective effort to stop it. Everyone guest has a role to play. Ladies and gentlemen, despite this current difficult situation confronting us, we believe it is important to remain steadfast in our resolve to highlight issues facing women of our country. Women's Month provides an opportunity to pay a tribute to the generations of women whose struggles laid the foundations for the progress made in empowering women and achieving gender equality to date. The struggles waged by our forebears have resulted in important strides we have today. This year's commemorations are under the theme, the Year of Charlotte Maxeke, which is realizing women's rights. In this regard, we saluted the heroines of our country, including but not limited to Charlotte Maxeke, Albertina Sisulu, Sophie Brain, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Helen Joseph, Rahima Musa, Philandwandwe, September, Imama Shinini, and many others who have ushered in the rights and freedom of our women, which we can lay claim to date. We want to join hands across spheres of government and with all sectors of society towards gender equality. We also want to see sustainable programs that are geared towards achieving this goal. While government introduced a range of relief measures, it is critical that women's access to government social and economic relief measures is continuously addressed and that women are at the center of government economic recovery plan. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is one of the economic clusters in government, and as such, it plays a strategic role in the economic empowerment of women, hence the launch of wage strategy and the appointment of the Ministerial Advisory Council. Program Director, the task that I've been assigned for today is to introduce our Minister, Honorable Gwede Mantashe. It is an honor and privilege for me to introduce to you Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Mr. Samson Gwede Mantashe, who was born on the 21st of June 1955 in the village of Lower Tala in the then Transkei, which is now the Eastern Cape Province. He cut his teeth as an activist in the student Christian movement. Minister Mantashe received a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of South Africa in 1997. where he also completed a Bachelor of Commerce honors in 2002. He holds a master's degree from the University of Witwatersrand, which was acquired in 2008. He successfully completed the Masters of Business Administration through Menkosa in 2021. In 1975, he was employed as the recreation officer at the Western Deep Levels mine, and in the same year, he moved to Priska Copper Mines, where he served as the welfare officer in 1982. Working at the Matla in 1982, Mr. Mantashe co-founded and became the Witbank branch chairperson of the National Union of Mine Workers, a position he held until 1984. In the year 1985, he was elected as the NUM Regional Secretary, a skilled mine worker and leader. Mr. Mantashe served as the NUM National Organizer from the year 1988 to the year 1993 and became the regional coordinator between the year 1993 and 1994. From 1994 to 1998, Mr. Mantashe served as the Assistant General Secretary of the NUM, whereupon he was elected as the first Worker General Secretary at the Union's Congress in 1998. For his first stint in government, Mr. Mantashe was elected councillor in the Eguhuleni municipality in 1995, where he served until the year 1999. In 1995, he became the first trade unionist to be appointed to the board of directors of Johannesburg Stock Exchange listed company, namely, which is Samanco. In May 2006, he relinquished his position as the Secretary General of the NUM at the Union's 12th National Congress. In the same year, Mr. Mantashe was appointed as the Executive Director at the Development Bank of Southern Africa, where for a period of 2 years, he served as the chairperson of the Technical Working Group of the Joint Initiative for Priority Skills Acquisitions. In 2007, Mr. Mantashe was elected as the chairperson of the SACP and served as the member of the party's Central Committee. In December 2007, he was elected as the Secretary General of the African National Congress, the ANC, at the party's 52nd National Conference. He was re-elected to the same position in 2012 at the ANC's 54th National Conference in 2017. Mr. Mantashe was elected as the national chairperson. Mr. Mantashe was appointed as the Minister of Mineral Resources in February 2018, following the 6th administration elections in 2019. And with the expansion of the ministry to include energy, he was appointed as the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy in May 2019, where he currently serves. In conclusion, Program Director, as the country continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic, we would like to encourage everyone in our country to go for vaccination, wear their mask, sanitize regularly, wash hands with soap, and do their part to observe social distancing. Together, we can overcome this pandemic. Malibongwe, igama lamakhosikazi, malibongwe.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources, Dr. Ngabane, DG of the department, Advocate Mkwena, Ms. Kituku Shongwe, representative of UN Women South Africa's multi-country office, our special guests, many of them Gender Ministerial Advisory Council members, representative of different public and private sector institutions, representative from different women, energy and mining associates, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start off by acknowledging that, you know, when you read a long introduction, it sounds like it's an obituary. And it sounds like you're going to end with, may his soul rest in peace, in eternal life, in eternal peace. It must be appraised, really. Actually, I'm quite happy to be here today. You know, it is the end of the Women's Month. I'm one of the people who say Women's Month should be every month, and Women's Day it should be every day. Because once you realize that, you will appreciate that women are not for abuse, women are for being loved. This is the year, the whole year is actually celebrating the life of Mary Charlotte Matlake, a leader and one of the women, one of the first women in South Africa to graduate in science degree. Now, Uma Matlake is quite important in the fact that he invaded the space of man several times very early in the years of the struggle for freedom. And I think today we honor women because we have a number of women who should be honored. But the issue that I want to emphasize is that, let me first of all formally welcome Deputy Minister Dr. Ngabane. We lost our Deputy Minister 2 years ago. We are only having a Deputy Minister now. It is a great relief for all of us. Now, you know, the role of women is normally understated in the sense that you use many terms to undermine that role. You begin to invoke the definition of a breadwinner and try to exclude women in that. You do a number of things to exclude them. You know, I'm a mine worker by background. In 1987, we started a campaign for women to work in the mines. There were none at the time. Today, 60,000 mine workers in South Africa are women. It's not luck, it's hard work. That is about 14% of the workforce of the mining industry, very low. But a few weeks ago, I'm sharing this with women in energy. So they must know that what we want to achieve can be achieved. We celebrated the election of Nolita Fakude as the president of the Mineral Council South Africa for the first time in 131 years. We had a female president in the Mineral Council. Number two, 3 major mining companies, I make this point, are actually having female CEOs. De Beers, Anglo Platinum, Exaro. Now that is progress that we think that we're making progress. My own view is that in energy, there are many things that we need to work on. Is when you talk to the Mineral Council, you are talking to an organization, you can get all CEOs under one roof within a short space of time. Energy doesn't have a similar body. We'll have to have that body, and then within that body, have a women's structure. Because the women's structure is going to struggle to go from every energy house to get recognition. But when there's a body that pulls energy together, it's easy to engage that body yourself. Now, and remember, energy is the flywheel of economic growth. And therefore, women must not only own, they must also manage the sector. It works better. That's why I gave you these examples. And this flywheel, one of the things I look for every time is when there's a quarterly report on the gross domestic product of the country. In that gross domestic product of the country every quarter, mining now, as we sit here today, is doing very well, it's leading. But every time I go to the item, electricity, gas, and water, it is always making a negative contribution. I'm hoping that this advisory committee is going to help us change that reality and create a sector that is sustainable, that is a real flywheel of the economy, that is leading, that is knitting various sectors together. I've been informed that you have developed this strategy, which is a culmination of extensive and inclusive consultation process with government institutions, South African citizens, civil society organizations, women in energy, private public sector companies, the UN Women and other development.
Thanks, Lee.
The strategy is aligned to the constitution of the country, which is anchored on firm foundation for pursuing gender equality and equity in the Republic. And the launch of the strategy is very timely for me. It dovetails with the implementation of Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals that recognizes gender equality as a fundamental right and a driver of progress across all development goals. According to UN, fulfilling gender equality right is the best chance we have in meeting some of the most pressing challenges of our time, from economic crisis to lack of health care, to climate change, violence against women, and escalating conflict. The studies show that gender equality is critical to achieving a wide range of objectives pertaining to sustainable development. These include promoting economic growth and labor productivity, reducing poverty, enhancing human capital through health and education, attaining food security, addressing climate change impacts, and strengthening resilience to disasters and ensuring more peaceful and inclusive community. Accelerating gender equality in all spheres of society leads to more rapid increase in the progress towards achieving the 2030 agenda. I'm making this point because the role of this committee should not just be an add-on. The biggest responsibility is to mainstream gender equality, take gender equality to the center, and force everybody to pay attention. And not just say, yes, we've got the structure and leave it there. It must show interest. One thing I want to emphasize is that any opportunity is a big opportunity. I always listen to this thing of grass cutting and cleaning is small. But if you look globally, if you look into a company like Starbucks, it's my favorite example. Starbucks is selling coffee and nothing less and nothing more, but it's a global brand today, precisely because it's a serious brand. It sells its coffee, it competes, and it has decided to be a leader in that area. Any opportunity we get, we must use it and expand it. We must build entrepreneurs in the sector because in South Africa, we're using two terms, which I think we need to revisit. There's a term called deliver and the term that says empower. When you say deliver, it implies that somebody waits and you deliver the product to that person. When you empower, you are making an assumption that the powerful being must empower the weaker being. And I think those are the terms that actually lead to many problems of people not driving their own development and actually invade the space. Invade the space. They work for something to empower or deliver. Women must invade the space and not ask for permission and ensure that they participate and we share experiences in the process. The strategy is in line with African Union Agenda 2063, which aims to achieve full gender equality in all spheres of life through removing all forms of gender discrimination in social, cultural, economic, and political spheres. An article by Charlotte Kabaseke, Equality or Pipe Dream, Gender and Inclusive Development under the AU Agenda 2063, concludes that despite the efforts at the regional level to advance gender equality, it has not been achieved. Due to poor enforcement at national level, there is therefore a serious need for political will, financing, and generating budgeting at national level. And serious monitoring mechanisms also need to be put in place to enable states to be held accountable. Now, the structure will have to meet me not once a year. I heard this thing that they will have to give me a report once a year and so forth. I think if we want to make a working structure, we'll have to meet more regular than a year. At most 3 to 4 times a year is better, because we must talk to practical problems that are encountered in the process of building the structure. Now, building the 2015 power of parity, advancing women equality in Africa, McKinsey Global Institute finds that if Africa steps up its effort to close gender gaps, it can secure substantial growth dividend in the process. Accelerating progress towards parity could boost African economies by an equivalent of 316 billion rand, or 10% of the collective GDP by 2025. And I'm hoping that this structure will not only invade the space, it will invade the debate in the energy. It's the most polarized discussion of policy with a fight based on technologies. And my argument from a developing economy is that transition can only be just if we're actually using a number of technologies at our disposal. Renewables will lead the path to low carbon emissions, but they will need your gas, they will need your nuclear for base load. Even when we say coal is a dirty product, we'll have to manage it out and not think that we can switch it off and hope that it will be normal. It's not, it can't work that way. We must manage it properly, ensure that we don't destroy lives of people and jobs of people in the process. Balance the transition, ensure that at the end it is balanced. The strategy rests on vision of building a gender-just society in which all men and women enjoy equal and equity and participate as equal partners in the development process of the country, which is bold, smart, and compelling. So in other words, it's not men versus women, it's about integrating development of society. I can tell you that it's a different story when you begin to see in higher education, the majority being the girl child. Then it tells you the story that this thing of men being dominant and powerful is in itself coming to an end without pronouncing itself. But you look at the girl child, now you go to the professional institution, you can see the growth of the role played by women, and we must only enhance that role. Now a problem here with us as men is that we get frightened when women are coming in numbers and they are actual of content. And therefore, the West strategy is anchored on this very principle as to recognize gender equality as the cornerstone for achieving equitable and sustainable economic and social development. Now, I am quite happy to have this structure here today. It is against this background that I officially launched the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy and Implementation Plan. But more important is to launch the Gender Ministerial Advisory Council for the energy sector, because a plan and the strategy requires a structure to drive it. It must not be left to chances. It must be appreciated that it is the capability of the people who are in the structure that will make the difference. I'm going to read the name. I was given that task of the council members who have been appointed to ensure representation of all energy stakeholders. And the appointed gender council members are: one is Khadi Ulai Tikhabi, is MD of Liquidfield Petroleum Industry Association of South Africa. There you are. Then is Tolulwazi Nkosi, founder of Langeni Gas. Is Norma Chili, CEO and founder of Makwande Energy Trading. Is Priscilla Mabelane, Vice President of Energy Business, Sasson. Miss Linda Mabena Olagudu, founder and CEO, DLO Energy Resources Group. Is widow Schnabel, board chairperson of South African Photovoltaic Industry Association. Is Lisa Reynolds, CEO, Green Building Council South Africa. Ayanda Noah, a chairperson of the SAF group of companies. Elsie Pule, a group executive, human resources in ESCOM. Ms. Divaksha Maharaj. I hope that pronouncement is correct, Divaksha Maharaj. I can't miss the surname. Ikigai Engineering. Is Dr. Namane Mahau, board member, NEXA and NTP. Is Ms. Tebuko Mutabane, President of Women in Nuclear South Africa. Advocate Nomalanga Stone, CEO, South African National Energy Regulator. Obageng Mulwabi, Executive Director, Pele Green Energy Group. Mr. Afafani Chifularo, Executive Director, South African Petrol Industry Association, SAPIA. SAPIA. Let's institutionalize that one. Ms. Priska Soko, Chairperson, SADC Women in Business. Ms. Yvonne Chetty, Financial CFO, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. Ms. Tsitsi Musasike, Principal Deal Originator for Energy, Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA. Professor Josephine Kaviti Musango, Professor Gender and Energy, Stellenbosch University. Professor Raul Inglesi Lodge, Professor in Energy Economics, University of Pretoria. It sounds better when you call it TECHIS. Zakiti Zama, Imbokoto Exploration and Production and President of Women in Upstream Petroleum, South Africa. Ms. Kiran Maharaj, Chairperson, South African National Energy Association. That is a list of 22 strong women in one body. And my own view is that now I say a board of 22 women, and I'm sure the few men who are sprinkling this list are going to protest. We're not women. You are a minority by far, so accept that you are women for today and in the structure, because women must influence the direction of the structure. Now, it is with deep sadness that we have lost one of our own, Undom Futinto, who was one of the appointees. I have no doubt that she was going to accept the appointment, looking at her availability, contributions made in transforming the Energy Association. May her soul rest in eternal peace. A distinguished guest, this is the team that will support us in implementing the energy sector gender strategy to transforming the energy sector. The DMRA, Gender Mainstreaming and Transformation, will provide sectorial duties on behalf of the Department and Energy sector. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on your appointment and appreciate your acceptance of the appointment. To the women in energy, I say, gates have been opened for you. It is your time. Seize the opportunity. As for women in mining and mineral sector, I want to assure you that this department is currently drafting a women empowerment gender equality strategy for mining and mineral sector. You will be consulted. I want to assure you that gender mainstreaming and economic empowerment and transformation will happen in the mining and energy sector of our country. I can only wish you well, but let me repeat, let's interact regularly, because if we interact regularly, we can influence one another directly. We'll not wait for a year and deal with reports. It is quite a good occasion. I thank you, all of you. I appreciate your presence here. But in a year's time, there's one thing that I can wait for a year, is to assess progress made. How many women industrialists have emerged out of this effort? How many are in the process of emerging? Only that assessment I will do annually. Let's work hard, let's make it a success. I want to emphasize for the last, invade the space. I can tell you, nobody with power volunteer the power away. That's why I'm saying, please invade the space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Mantashe. You have fueled me with so much energy, and I am confident that all attending delegates are just as equally excited from your convictions, your promises, and your commitment to inclusion in the energy sector. Just to quote some of the inspiring words that you shared with us this afternoon, creating and empowering the Gender Ministerial Advisory Council with power and influence to unlock opportunities in the energy sector for women, youth, and people living with disabilities, to unlock access to market, access to finance, access to technology, access to skills development, access to credible networks, and credible market information. You have also called the whole collective body of women in energy to invade the space and to look at all opportunities across the energy value chains as indeed opportunities, entry points to advance their enterprising activities in the sector. We thank you very much for displaying such sheer commitment to diversifying the energy sector, ensuring that the just energy transition is not only just, but it is balanced and it preserves our societies and communities. You spoke very passionately about not only prioritizing women's participation, but creating an integrated society. And for that, we are enthused, we are excited, and congratulations indeed to the esteemed members of the Gender Ministerial Advisory Council. We look forward as an industry to interacting with you. The minister has extended an invitation for regular interactions so that indeed we can unlock the barriers that today prevent accelerated participation of women as industrialists in the energy sector. And we look up to you to enable that ambition of the strategy. Please welcome Ms. Mohadi Modise, Chief Director and Energy Efficiency Project at the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. She has been in clean energy since joining the former Department of Energy in 2009. She comes with 10 years experience in clean energy. She is going to give a vote of thanks and close the webinar.
Thank you, Madam Facilitator. Let me take this opportunity to thank the principals, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Honorable Minister Gwede Mantashe, our Deputy Minister we welcomed during this Women's Month, Dr. Nkabane, and the Director General of Department of Minerals and Energy, Advocate Mokwena, and the leadership within various subsectors within the energy sector. This has been a journey of effort and energy, determination by most of you who have participated within the energy empowerment of women to get us to where we are. The work that has gone into the development of the strategy, it's because of your input that we gathered through the process of crisscrossing provinces. Most of you have participated, as Elizabeth has indicated, that it started way back from 2014-15 to where we are in putting the systems in place. And it would not have been possible to do that without your effort. It's been encouraging to see even the participation today of more than 500 delegates within this webinar. This has taken a lot of effort at the national sphere as well as international platform, when various energy women groups are established, and the department participating in various of them, whether being women in nuclear, women in energy efficiency, and women in energy South Africa. Those inputs that you have provided through us, they've carried us and paved direction. There is a mammoth task that the department, together with yourselves, are still yet to work. And let me also take an opportunity to thank the Ministerial Advisory Council on behalf of the department, as the minister has indicated, for availing yourselves and for rising to the challenge as yet to come. The minister always tells us that what we need to learn of is to execute. You can see by example that he has already given direction in terms of how to execute by meeting several times as opposed to once a year. Already he's giving direction in terms of making sure that the depiction of the scale on the strategy, we really get to the point of balancing the scale. But if the numbers are still telling us that the scale is tilting, towards the opposite, it means we have not yet, gotten to that point. And I hope we have listened, attentively, that when we are called even within a short space of time, we should always avail ourselves. And that's the purpose of indeed invading the space. Let me thank you all. And we are looking forward to be working with you, going forward, to make sure that all the commitments that we have to take through to our respective decision makers so that resources are put aside in many, fronts, whether being human resource, whether being financial resources, whether being systems, to make sure that everywhere where we are able to advance the needs of women in a more transparent, competitive, platforms. This has been more of a platform where we have now seen what we have been doing for more than 6 to 7 years. And we need to take this document forward so that it doesn't remain a shelf document. On behalf of the department, let me thank the organizers, the team that has brought all of us together. And I just need to indicate that we have a driver indeed in Ms. Marabwa and team who have in the past years been pushing us. And when she talks about procurement, I'm one of those that can confess that she goes even in the departmental programs. As you have heard that the department has budgets and millions that are transferred to institutions, state-owned entities. She follows the money to where we are being told we're starting to make sure that procurement indeed takes those percentages set aside for women in reality, because you wouldn't be able to lead the energy sector without leading by example, and the department is doing exactly that. And let me close by thanking everyone else and looking forward to work with you as we move forward. Be safe in this pandemic. Over to you, Madam Facilitator.
Thank you, ma'am. The journey to create a supportive ecosystem for women in energy has begun. We are all invited to play our part to invade the space, as the minister has said. Let us work together indeed to create an inclusive, clean, affordable, modern energy market for South Africa and its citizens. We have come to the end of our webinar. I have thoroughly enjoyed hosting the session and hope that you have found it insightful. Enjoy the rest of your day and goodbye.